Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final session for Governor Matt Mead's Energy Strategy Development Process in 2016. In 2015, for the 2016 Energy Strategy, I apologize. It's been a long afternoon, and I'm sure those of you who have been here in person will agree with me, and I'd like to thank you for your patience and for being here. One of the great things about technology is we're able to use the web to reach out and to provide these sessions via YouTube statewide on the governor's webpage, on his Facebook page, and we think that that is fantastic technology, although it does make for a smaller crowd in person. We hope, though, that this will create a better opportunity for people who weren't here during the middle of your average day to be able to attend these, to watch the webcast of this, the archive, to talk with more substance about the things that we've talked about today, and to be able to give considerations to the proposals that have been prepared and shared today. So, my name is Nephi Cole. I'm the policy advisor for Governor Mead in the state of Wyoming, and I'm joined by Paul, also a policy advisor for Governor Mead, and by our press secretary, Seth Wagner, who's helping us with this webcast session today. This webcast is available due to the technology that we're employing in the state of Wyoming. We're very appreciative of the folks at the Enterprise Technology Services, ETS in Wyoming, who have helped make this possible and helped put it together. And certainly, we're hopeful that you out there will take advantage of some of the other tools that are provided by technology. Namely, if you're going to comment, we're accepting comments at energy.strategy@wyo.gov. And we have a series of surveys that are available online on the governor's website. And that is governor.wyo.gov. And there's a tab in there, an energy strategy tab. And by following that tab, you'll be able to access a series of 4 questionnaires. Each questionnaire dealing with a specific strategic theme. We'll talk about the strategic themes in a moment. And within each of those strategic themes, there are a number of proposed initiatives for the water strategy. So a little bit about this meeting. It's the last of 4 meetings of the day. The previous meetings have all run anywhere from, I think, about a half an hour to about an hour and 15 minutes long. They're all available on the archive webcast, and within those meetings you'll be able to see the proposed initiatives that we've been talking about throughout the day. And those are in 4 different categories, and they're the strategic themes of the governor's energy strategy. So in 2013, we began working on an energy strategy within Governor Mead's office. We began in 2012 and then rolled out the energy strategy in 2013. And that energy strategy is called Leading the Charge. It's Wyoming's action plan for energy, environment, and the economy. We're following up on that effort, and we're building on that effort. That effort was built with the expectation that it would be dynamic, that as times change, as things change, there would be an opportunity to grow that strategy, to improve it, to mark things off that were complete, and to look at things we need to do better in the future. So, Colin, what am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so, Nephi. I think you teed it up pretty well.
If I am, please go back and watch the other sessions. I'm sure I've said what I am forgetting now in each of the last 3 sessions. So we have a presentation, we're involved in the presentation. So talking a little bit about the development process of the energy strategy. In 2012, when we looked at energy strategies and the importance of energy to the economy, I don't know if you have we noted that in many cases, when people talk about an energy policy, those policy documents tend to be documents that have a lot of concepts, a lot of statements, but they lack something. What they lack was drive. So Governor Mead, when he decided he was going to develop his energy strategy, he wanted it to be business-like. He wanted it to be workmanlike. He wanted it to be something that could be acted on and that you could share with people, you could build on, and that you could ultimately be held accountable for. And so as he developed his energy strategy, he used a business model. That business model started with a public process of talking to what ultimately are for a business model, it would be your customers. And for government, it is the same. Your customers are your constituents, so the people that you serve, the people that you work for. So ultimately, building a good process that benefits those people starts with talking to those people. So as the case with the 2016 energy strategy, with the previous energy strategy and the water strategy, This public process began with outreach. And that outreach was through emails, calls, letters to diverse groups, as well as through public meetings. And we'll talk more about those public meetings this time, but we reached out to people throughout the state of Wyoming in a variety of communities, in a variety of different industries, occupations, and interests, and asked them what they thought the key issues were with relation to energy, environment, and economy in the state of Wyoming. We utilized technology, and we continue to do that today. So we're a big state. Some people have classified us as a small city. What is it? A small city with a huge main street, a very large main street. And Wyoming, certainly we are that way. We are very proud of the nature of our state. And I think that technology allows us to reach out to the people in our state and to make those miles less applicable in terms of interacting with government. We take feedback through surveys, through follow-up meetings. We've done that in previous efforts with both the energy strategy and the water strategy. We have open door policy. We'll talk to you on the phone. We'll talk if you come by the office. And we appreciate you reaching out and talking to us about these issues. When government developed its energy strategy, the key driving concept, the vision of that energy strategy was this: that Wyoming will achieve excellent energy development, production, and stewardship of its natural resources for the highest benefit of its citizens. What does that mean? It means in Wyoming we believe that we shouldn't have to choose between having a pristine environment and developing energy resources. We believe that that's a false choice. We believe that we can do both. That to say you couldn't is like saying that someone can eat breakfast in their kitchen, but they can't have a clean kitchen. Believe that if you do it right, if you're consistent, if you are intelligent, that you can do things the right way, and you can have an all-of-the-above strategy. Wyoming is a great example of this. Wyoming is the #1 energy exporter in the United States of America. Wyoming is also our #2 industry is tourism. People who come to the First National Park, the First National Monument, the First National Forest through Wyoming and rave about our open spaces, our marvels, our wildlife, rarely recognize that as they drive there, they're driving through one of the premier and most dense energy development areas in the world. So that's something that we know in Wyoming, and we're proud of leading in not only developing those resources, but in protecting our natural resources and the work that we do on reclamation, and we think we can do both. So looking at that vision statement, Wyoming is concentrated on doing two things: achieving excellence and highest benefits. Those are what we call guiding principles that live underneath the vision. And there's the schematic of how the energy strategy exists. It's a business framework. And it exists with, again, guided by that vision statement, where there are principles underneath it, like leading in energy development, innovating, like being standard bearers of responsible development, maintaining and growing our economy, creating affordable energy, and conserving natural resources in our heritage. Those are our guiding principles that are important in determining what things we should select as initiatives within the energy strategy. So those are things we consider, that we look at, the things that we were told in a public process we should prioritize, and we believe that's still the case. In the first iteration of the energy strategy, we determined that all the comments, the ideas, the thoughts, the concerns expressed, the solutions identified that came out of those meetings, we believe that all of those could be captured pretty accurately in about 4 different categories. Those categories are economic competitiveness, expansion, and diversification, efficient and effective regulation, natural resource conservation, reclamation, and mitigation, and education, innovation, and new technologies. Those are the strategic themes of the energy strategy. They continue to be the strategic themes today. We believe that as we move forward, they will continue to guide, they will be adequate to capture the key ideas and areas we should be working on within the energy strategy 2016 forward. And around the state, we asked people to weigh in on what they thought our issues were in the state of Wyoming and what our opportunities were. As part of that, if people had concerns, if they had thoughts, we asked them to not only consider what they thought the issues and opportunities were, but what they thought the responses should be, what they thought we could do, what they thought the actions were to be able to carry the state forward. And we turned those to SMART actions. We call those specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based actions. And as people have talked about what they thought was important in the state of Wyoming, we've asked them to remember those things. And if we identify something that we believe or that they believe we should be working on, that they come forward with a concrete idea that meets that SMART goal requirement. So the ideas, the concepts, the initiatives that we ask people to discuss are all SMART. We're hopeful that they are, and our expectation is that if we carry them forward, they will need to be. Today represents the culmination of a process where we started going throughout the state, talking to people about what they thought we should be working on, and now we're coming back to you and allowing you to vet the things that we heard, allowing you to share and what we learned, and to tell us what you think about the things that were said as we went around the state. So these initiatives that we're going to talk about today in the final session, these proposed initiatives in education, innovation, and new technology, these should be viewed as recommendations. So what these are people talking in groups, talking and developing a consensus, developing central ideas, us working to understand those central ideas and to define what a SMART goal would look like for that central idea, and then to provide those based on your feedback over the next 30 days as recommendations for the governor. Then, upon analyzing your recommendations, we'll then also look at the practicality, the plausibility of given initiatives, the capacity of agencies who have to carry those initiatives out, incorporating all that information, the government will be making a decision on which of these initiatives will move forward in a 2016 energy strategy. I believe there are about 17 initiatives that we're going to talk about in this final session. It's anticipated that we'll move a small number, somewhere between 3 and 5 initiatives forward from each of the strategic themes that will ultimately be chosen and become part of the energy strategy. This is where feedback becomes extremely important for them. So as we move forward, we're going to ask that you go online, that you go to governor.wyo.gov, that you utilize a set of surveys that are on there under the Energy Strategy tab, that you go into those surveys, and that you weigh in on initiatives. I think it's appropriate to say, and I think everyone will understand that as we ask you to weigh in on these, we're going to ask you to grade them. Tell us how important you think each initiative is. If you give everything a 10, that doesn't give us much to go on when we try to determine what those answers mean. What we're asking is that you thoughtfully read through each specific initiative and consider if that's a good idea or a bad idea for the state of Wyoming, what you think about those concepts and those ideas, and if it's something that we should put our emphasis behind. Ultimately, that will help shape what happens with these initiatives. So, talking about where we're going to go with future initiatives, I think it's important to back up and talk about where we've been. We've learned a lot. We should say that. Between the different versions of the energy strategy, in the first version, we had over 100 proposed initiatives. We left that first development of the energy strategy with 45 initiatives chosen as key initiatives, then moved forward as initiatives within the state. Each of those initiatives then was handed to an agency director. The agency director with that initiative, and the initiative starts very much as what you're going to see today, a paragraph, an explanation, kind of a charge to move forward. And it's up to those agency leaders to define how we would get there. And so they develop the specifics. They tell us what was attainable. They help us determine whether or not these things are relevant to us as a state. And then they help us define the timeframes, develop milestones for measuring those initiatives as they move forward. So as part of those 45 initiatives, part of tracking that, we had to look at a new way to track. If we were going to be transparent, we had to discuss how we're going to make the information available to people when they ask, are we getting this done, how will we do that? So we developed a website, which may not sound very innovative today, but to us we thought it was pretty innovative at the time. This website is energy.wyo.gov. On energy.wyo.gov, you can go and click on each individual initiative. And you can see the initiative, you can see the milestones for each initiative, and you can see what we call a fuel gauge, or how far we've gone on each initiative. So that's a tracking tool that allows you in real time to see where our agencies have gotten those initiatives. Today we know we're about 77% complete with the 2013 energy strategy. That 77% represents, again, 45 initiatives, with 19 being 100% complete, and the remainder being very close to being complete. With those initiatives, we realize we may never get to 100%, and that's because there is a reality that on some of these initiatives, you find out over time that you need to do more to move an initiative. So there may be some initiatives where there needs to be additional emphasis, where there may need to be additional staff or additional resources employed in order to move that initiative. And questions will be asked about why we didn't get there and if we need to revisit that. And through that questioning process, we'll come to the conclusion that some of those initiatives may not have been great ideas in the first place. So we need to take a look at them, back up, and redetermine whether or not we take another shot at them or whether they were just bad ideas and we need to start over. And that's something that we are willing to do, and that's part of the business process. It's part of analyzing your successes and your failures and then moving forward. So that's the process that resulted in the development of the 2013 energy strategy, and that's how we track it. The 2013 initiatives are shown on this slide here. Again, those 45 initiatives. And we won't go into all of them, but it is important to say that some of those, like sage-grouse studies, like a Wyoming reclamation standard, like baseline groundwater rules, those were all initiatives that received significant publicity. People are primarily, and they're typically aware of those initiatives, but they didn't necessarily know that those initiatives came out of the 2013 energy strategy. And so one of our goals with the 2016 energy strategy will be better messaging. It will be selecting initiatives and making sure that people can be intimately aware of each initiative, where it fits in the energy strategy, and how it is moving forward. So it's an invitation we heard, it's a challenge we heard from the public, is to be better at messaging, and we're committed to that. So we'd like to talk a little bit about the process of developing an energy strategy. So again, this process began with public outreach meetings, and then from those public outreach meetings, we spent a considerable amount of time compiling those ideas, those consensus points that we heard in those meetings. And right now, we are sharing those findings. That's this conference, this web event is where we share those findings for the first time, and we share with you what we heard from you going around the state. From here, we're going to have a 30-day comment period. We're asking you to weigh in on all of the different initiatives. We'll provide all that information to the governor, who then will use that to help guide in selecting the final initiatives that move forward. And again, it will be a minority of the initiatives that are in front of you today, of the proposals that are in front of you today. Those will be moved forward in the publication, and then we'll make determinations on whether or not we need to do a web update. The big question mark there will be, do people use energy.wi.gov? Is that an efficient and effective way to use our resources to continue to populate that website? So we're looking for a little bit of feedback on that as well. Excuse me. For the 2016 energy strategy, we had a significant amount of throughout this. We had 6 formal listening sessions in 6 different communities: Gillette, Casper, Cody, Jackson, Rock Springs, and Cheyenne. Those were all announced through press releases prior to those meetings, and they were co-hosted by a variety of different groups in each community who also did outreach to make people aware of those public meetings. Those co-hosts included groups like county commissioners, like non-governmental organizations, included industries like the coal industry and the gas industry, they included the agricultural industry. So we tried to reach out to as many people as possible at each of those public meetings to try and diversify the types of input and responses that we received. Each meeting was a public meeting. Each of those public meetings was attended by roughly 50 individuals. We had 4 facilitators at each meeting. At each of those public meetings, the agenda remained the same throughout every meeting. So the agenda, the presentations given were all the same coming from the governor's office. We took care of that portion of the program. And then we also facilitated discussions amongst the groups that occurred there. So we basically divide people into 4 groups in each meeting, and then have roughly 2 hours of conversation on key topics related to the energy strategy within those meetings. And so when we came away with that, as you can imagine, 2 hours of discussion per group, 4 groups per meeting, 6 meetings total. There were a lot of notes. It is from those notes that we compile the thoughts that came to this energy strategy. It's from that commentary, it's from those discussions of issues, opportunities, solutions, actions. That's where these proposed initiatives came from. So with that, we'd like to introduce the 4th theme and talk a little, share with you some of the comments that went with that 4th theme, and then talk about that theme and ask you to weigh in on where we should go with this theme. Again, please go to governor.wilo.gov to weigh in on these public initiatives, these proposed initiatives that were brought forward through this public process to us today, and tell us what you think of them. So the theme is education, innovation, and new technology. Here are some of the things that we heard going around the state with relation to this theme. As related to new technologies, you said things like, and these are direct quotes, the state should invest vigorously in new technologies. So that was a common theme. We also heard stronger emphasis on the study of CO2 and carbon capture, use, and sequestration. On things like workplace safety, we heard workplace safety has to be top down and enforced. We heard training programs can be focused on trade schools. You said things like, for energy storage, there were questions, can we store it to keep the economic benefit in the state? Better forms of energy storage that are developed here. So a lot of discussion on storage, marketing and education. The energy industry needs to work together better, collectively marketing for energy. We heard, endorse any and all efforts to inform and educate the state's populace about the resources. And we heard, today's youth are disconnected from the source of their electronics. That was an interesting discussion when people talked about the fact we all seem to be, as I am, Colin is, attached to your telephone all the time. Sometimes we forget the things that make that telephone work, where they came from. So great conversation going around the state on these issues. So with that, we'll move into talking about the themes for the proposed initiatives within this theme. It bears reminding that these are all proposed initiatives. What do I mean by proposed initiatives? These are not the initiatives that will move forward. They're initiatives that could move forward if there's enough weight behind these initiatives, and if there's a determination made after analyzing all of your comments, as well as the range of practicality and capacity. There'll be a discussion about whether or not these initiatives are the appropriate ones to move forward. So please ask that you weigh in, that you help us determine which of these should move forward. The first one, the Comprehensive Energy Market Initiative. Misconceptions exist regarding energy development and environmental stewardship, both individually and in relation to one another. Wyoming has been the standard bearer in balancing these interests. Wyoming is best suited nationally to share a pragmatic approach on energy and environment with other states, citizens, and national policymakers. The state, in conjunction with the University of Wyoming, industry, non-governmental organizations, and others, will develop balanced messaging, finding and employing a strategy to educate and better inform the public. So this initiative would be to do that. It would be the Comprehensive Energy Marketing Initiative.
Yeah, and one thing that I did find interesting is we traveled around the state, is there was a lot of discussion about the need to generally educate the population on energy development, on environmental stewardship, on generation facilities, and so there are a few different proposed initiatives in this theme that I guess they have different angles on ways that we can attempt to provide that type of education, and the second proposed initiative fits in there as well. This one is the Energy Outreach Team Initiative. So, to be effective, education begins early. Diversity of opinion, while acknowledging facts and science, allows for open conversations that effectively form a basis of knowledge. Wyoming will develop energy education outreach team to work with K through 12 classrooms, giving students a broad understanding of energy and the environment. Individuals on this team will include local, state, and federal employees, academia, industry, non-governmental organizations, tourism, agriculture, and others. So this was a consolidation of a number of different comments, but it was interesting that it kind of shows the coexistence of all of these different industries and interests in Wyoming, and how it is known that minerals is our number one industry, tourism number two, and agriculture number three, but there is a balance and a relationship between each of them, and to have that broad understanding of what the energy industry and the environmental worlds are like, that you need that education and information from all sorts of interests. So that is the second proposed initiative.
Before I get to the third proposed initiative, another reminder to go online to government.wyo.gov and participate in those surveys. The next initiative, like all these initiatives, is related to education, innovation, and technologies. If you're hoping to talk about the other three strategic themes, that is not this session. Those sessions are archived, and you can go listen to those sessions and weigh in on the other surveys that are available. So this third, initiative is the Carbon Fuels Education Initiative. As with every other initiative, these initiatives were brought to us by the public during the outreach sessions, and we're asking you to weigh in and vet these initiatives. So the Carbon Fuels Education Initiative. Fossil fuels have been the bedrock of the American economy for over a century. Their low cost, abundant, and ease of transportation are factors that create opportunities for the citizens and businesses in the United States. Recently, however, portrayal of fossil fuels is primarily negative and prevalent. It is important that individuals have the, quote, full picture, unquote, understanding the benefits accrued from carbon fuels, as well as the advancements being made to utilize them in a more efficient and environmentally beneficial way. This initiative will develop educational materials on the history of fossil fuels in the U.S., their history in Wyoming, and their integral role in the U.S. economy. This is number 3, the Carbon Fuels Initiative.
The fourth initiative is yet another way to try to highlight the positive things that both the environmental community and the energy industry have been doing in conjunction with the state of Wyoming regulators and executive and legislative branches. This one is specifically focused on steps the state of Wyoming has taken in the past to achieve that balance of allowing for a robust energy industry while taking care of our environmental stewardship and highlighting the many great things that the state has done. So this initiative is the Wyoming Accomplishments Initiative. Wyoming has been on the leading edge of energy development and environmental stewardship for years. Many programs established in Wyoming have become nationally recognized as world-class. This initiative will highlight the proactive measures Wyoming has taken to protect the environment while allowing for a robust energy industry. This initiative will highlight environmental stewardship and energy development that can occur hand in hand, and that Wyoming has a proven track record of balancing and leading in both. And individuals in the meetings discussed how we've been able to do this in Wyoming for a number of years, and that to help people understand that these two can and do live in the same area was very important, and how Wyoming can show folks in our state and folks outside of Wyoming that you can have both of these things occurring at the same time, and we've done it for years.
Thank you, Colin. Moving on to the proposed initiative number 5. A reminder that there are 20 proposed initiatives in this section. And again, you're going to see a significant amount of whittling down of these initiatives to reach those final initiatives. And it's pretty critical to, number one, recognize that probably less than a quarter of all proposed initiatives here actually will become final initiatives, and also recognize the importance of helping shape and tell us which ones you think are real rock stars and which ones are duds. And so please weigh in and let us know, and do that through the Energy Strategy tab on the government website, governor.wyo.gov. So number 5 is the Wyoming Resource Tours Initiative. This initiative means this: providing educational materials about the coexistence of energy development and environmental stewardship is important. However, seeing firsthand induces stronger and longer-lasting impressions. Wyoming will host statewide resource tours aimed at highlighting energy production, agricultural production, tourism, and environmental stewardship. Key decision makers will have opportunities to see this firsthand, building relationships and positively influencing decisions. There have been other efforts like this that have gone on in the state and have been very successful, where it gives folks from out of state, folks from in-state, people who may not be aware of the great things that are going on in Wyoming, an opportunity to interact with their boots on the ground, with people who have had their boots on the ground in Wyoming, and to discuss key issues and opportunities, take a look at what makes Wyoming great. So this initiative was looking at doing something like that on a statewide basis.
Okay. And now turning away from the education, marketing, outreach initiatives, and you know, as we just went through, there were a number of different ideas of ways that Wyoming could do that. We'll now turn to some other areas. Initiative number 6 is titled the Energy Storage Initiative. And this one reads, the presence and expanded use of intermittent sources of energy challenges the American paradigm of ensuring an affordable, reliable electric grid. Energy storage technologies will become increasingly important. Wyoming will identify opportunities and provide resources to efforts for research and development of energy storage technologies, furthering the ability to utilize non-traditional energy on an economically viable basis. So this one came about from, again, conversations around the state. The use of intermittent renewable resources is increasing, which does bring with it challenges of balancing electricity supply and demand on the electric grid. And one way to solve that challenge is by developing electric storage devices. At this time, it's still there's still expensive technologies, and it's still a lot of areas that research and development needs to occur in. And so there was a lot of discussion about the need that the state of Wyoming could play a great role in trying to further those technologies.
Thank you very much, Paul. Initiative number 7 is the Individualized Energy Initiative. Opportunities for individuals and businesses to utilize distributed energy resources are increasing, including the use of solar panels or small-scale wind turbines. These resources can reduce electricity bills and provide flexibility to users. To advance to installation of distributed energy resources, this initiative would explore special energy districts that would allow local governments and citizens to tax themselves with revenues going towards the installation of renewable power resources. So that is initiative number 7, was proposed, the Individual Energy Initiative. As with all these initiatives, again, a reminder, these are proposed initiatives we're asking people to weigh in on. There are different levels of practicality, of capacity, of feasibility to all of these. We're asking you to weigh in and tell us what you think, and so that we can utilize that in selecting the final initiatives in this section moving forward.
The 8th proposed initiative is titled the Smart Meter Initiative, and I will say that this is not aligned with our SMART goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. So just wanted to throw that out there. So the Smart Meter Initiative. Smart meters allow ratepayers to analyze their energy use, giving feedback on the economy of personal energy choices. Decisions can be made to use energy-intensive appliances at homes and businesses when electricity prices are at their most affordable and abstain at other times, lowering electricity consumption and consumer bills. Wyoming Executive Branch will work with the state legislature to analyze opportunities for municipalities who would like to consider ordinances requiring smart meters in homes and businesses. And so this one actually was kind of interesting, where there wasn't so much of a discussion on a statewide requirement for residents and businesses to install smart meters, but it was more to bring it down to a local level and allow municipalities that option to require their citizens to install smart meters to reduce overall energy consumption and thus reduce energy bills. And the idea of creating an ordinance or something likened to an improvement district to pay for these efforts. So, that was the Smart Meter Initiative.
Thank you, Colin. As you can see, there's a lot of discussion within our meetings on concepts of renewables. There's a lot of discussions on energy efficiency. So this is where the next initiative comes in. Initiative 9, proposed initiative, is the Energy Efficiency Code Initiative. U.S. government has formalized energy efficiency standards which apply to privately owned buildings. To date, Wyoming has not required adherence to these standards. In an effort to reduce overall energy use across the private sector, this initiative will result in Wyoming instituting energy efficiency building codes. That is the proposed initiative, initiative number 9, the Energy Efficiency Code Initiative. And we're asking you to go online to the governor's website, governor.colorado, and strategy link to weigh in on this.
Great. The next few initiatives are more geared towards energy education in the state and different avenues through which the state could, through universities or through K through 12, could provide additional or more broad-based energy learning opportunities for students going through our public education system. So the proposed initiative number 10 is the University of Wyoming Energy Education Enhancement Initiative. Partnerships using state funding and private donations help provide opportunities for University of Wyoming students to utilize leading technologies, interact with first-class educators, and gain experiences for life and career. Providing students with broad course options and insisting on breadth and depth in education helps create understanding and innovation in all industries, including energy. To ensure the breadth of education that is consistent with the state's leadership in energy and natural resource stewardship, this initiative would charge the university with identifying and, if possible, incorporating key earth science courses into energy degree programs. So through the School of Energy Resources, there are a number of energy education degrees that can be attained, and we had some feedback that including more classes or study on the earth sciences might provide a more in-depth understanding of the energy arenas, and so this would be an area where the University of Wyoming would look in to see if additional courses along these lines might provide a broader education experience for their students.
Thank you, Colin. As you noted, we asked for feedback in a couple of different ways from this session. We're asking you, inviting you to provide feedback in any way you'd like, but specifically we're looking for emails at energy.strategy@wyoming.gov, as well as participation in the surveys that we have available. To describe why those surveys are important, the survey methodology gives us an opportunity to get your take on all of the initiatives, and that's why we're asking you to please go on. We know it takes a little bit of time, not a terribly large amount of time, to go on and weigh in on all the individual surveys for each of the sections, for each of the themes. In addition to that, as in any of the initiatives that you've heard, proposed initiatives presented today, we're asking you to also weigh in specifically. There are a lot of very intelligent people in the state. If there are ideas that have been presented by, again, the citizens and public and peers, where you have a specific comment and you'd like to write in and say this is why something is possible, this is why it's not possible, this is why it's a good idea, this is why it's a bad idea, very specifically, please feel free to send us those emails and share with us your thoughts on those proposed initiatives. And all the initiatives, of course, have a number on them, so you can use the initiative number and the theme that it came from. That helps very much. Initiative 11 proposed was the K-12 Energy Literacy Initiative. The 2013 energy strategy resulted in the development of a report on possibility of incorporating energy literacy programs in K-12 curriculum. Students benefit from a basic understanding of energy and environmental issues. This initiative would act on recommendations from the Energy Literacy Feasibility Study, seeking implementation and integration in classroom curriculums. That is Initiative 11, the K-12 Energy Literacy Initiative, under the theme Energy, Education, Innovation, and New Technology.
There you go. All right, great. The 12-12 initiative that we collected under this theme, it is titled the STEM plus Art Initiative. So STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. So this initiative would, the STEM, technology, engineering, mathematics education are fundamental for students, increasing the likelihood of future success. In addition to STEM courses, incorporating the arts must become a priority. This initiative will result in a collaborative work with the Department of Education to identify ways to better incorporate these 5 fields of study, providing a strong, broad education for students. So this one, again, somewhat has a relation to the initiative for the University of Wyoming, and incorporating some additional, possibly incorporating some additional coursework, but you know, individuals throughout the state just feel that there are perhaps some additional areas of study and education that can be incorporated to provide a more full understanding and get a better education. So this one would be to incorporate more art courses into the STEM programs.
Thank you, Colin. Workplace safety was an area of focus that we heard throughout the state. The importance of workplace safety in Wyoming cannot be understated. This initiative, Initiative 13, the Workplace Safety Alliance Initiative, is this. The 2013 energy strategy resulted in a refinery industry safety alliance. Since then, other industry safety alliances have been formed. This allows industries to voluntarily share ideas and best practices for improving workplace. The efforts should continue and be broadened. Wyoming will work with additional industries to form alliances for teaching and instilling workplace safety practices. Through this initiative, the University of Wyoming, Wyoming Community Colleges, trade schools, vocational schools, the industries, and others will work to identify opportunities for expanded efforts and to determine where additional instructional classes can be offered. That is the Workplace Safety Alliance Initiative.
So you got my numbers wrong on the presentation, but that's okay. The 14th proposed initiative is the Career Readiness Initiative. And this one reads, the prospects for employment among Wyoming-based citizens are specific and sometimes specialized. Efforts have been undertaken, including the creation of the Wyoming Growing Program to attract people with bright skill sets to Wyoming opportunities and make those available to citizens in state through training. This initiative will broaden the network to identify the employment opportunities and incentives for training programs and job placement. As part of this initiative, work will be done to increase the network to reach additional qualified individuals for the Wyoming Growing Program. And if I remember right, this had some concepts where we wanted to keep and retain Wyoming talent in Wyoming, and so you know, one way of doing that was the creation of this Wyoming Growing Program earlier in 2015, earlier this year. And so part of this initiative, we feel that program has been effective, and so looking at additional opportunities through that program to broaden the network, to reach out to Wyoming citizens or folks that have had a connection with Wyoming in the past, to make the employment opportunities more readily available and accessible, as well as if there are additional needs for training programs, that we can make those available to keep and retain Wyoming talent in the state.
Thank you, Colin. The next initiative is, this one's changed already, is Initiative 15, the Advanced Carbon Technologies Coalition. Initiative 15, Advanced Carbon Technologies Coalition. Many organizations, states, and countries are putting resources into carbon dioxide research, development, and deployment of carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration technologies. Through this initiative, Wyoming will identify these efforts and develop working partnerships. A coalition with a unified goal will increase the likelihood of successes, decreasing the time needed to see strong results. This initiative, then, is Initiative 15 to develop an Advanced Carbon Technologies Coalition.
The 16th proposed, I think I lost battery. All right, shall sure. That's the 16th proposed initiative is the Carbon Power Technology Funding Initiative. And this one reads, the federal government puts substantial resources into research and development of renewable energies, while the level of funding to develop advanced fossil generation is relatively low. Renewable resources require additional certainty from fossil fuel generation to meet baseload needs. For this initiative, Wyoming will work with the federal government to utilize federal shares of mineral royalty revenues generated from coal production, directing those revenues to research and development of advanced carbon generation technologies. So again, this was, I believe, a way to try to get a commitment from the federal government, a recognition that fossil fuels are incredibly important to the generation mix of the United States and, quite frankly, the globe. And one way to show that support would be to utilize the royalties from federal coal mining to put those behind research and development for advanced coal technologies. So.
With all these initiatives, we're asking you to weigh in on this one and asking you to tell us what you think. Tell us whether you think this should be a priority or not, whether this is the top priority, whether it's an tier or a full priority. And you can do that. You can do that by going online to the governor's website and participating in those surveys and by emailing us at energy.strategy@wyo.gov. Initiative 17 is the Integrated Technology Carbon Utilization Initiative. Wyoming is the largest net energy exporting state, contributing nearly 8% of the American energy supply. Americans argue for a truly diverse profile of energy supply resources over time as a key building block to national prosperity and security. National energy markets are signaling a preference for reduced carbon output. Management of CO2 is a significant challenge, and commercially viable methods must be developed, not only for the United States, but globally. Wyoming can accelerate this effort by cooperating with private businesses, the UW School of Energy Resources, the Advanced Carbon Technology Task Force, and others. Utilizing legislatively approved funding, Wyoming will work with the generation industry to build an integrated test center at Wyoming coal-fired power plant, where innovative solutions will be developed for carbon capture and use, and identify means of positive incentives for the innovations needed. That is Initiative 17.
And so through the many public forums and discussions that were held to generate ideas, we worked to find consensus among all of the comments that were generated, and sometimes that consensus was built around kind of opposite ideas. So we had some ideas that came up saying that we would like to invest and put more resources behind fossil generation, and this proposed initiative, number 18, would look to put more resources behind renewable energy. And so this is the Renewable Energy Investment Program. Renewable sources of energy are increasing in usage and popularity throughout. Our speakers are going out, our mics are going out.
We're just going to talk loud.
I'm just going to talk loud.
That'll work for the rest of the day.
All right. Yeah, we have 2 more initiatives after this, so hopefully we can bear through. The Renewable Energy Investment Program. Renewable sources of energy are increasing in usage and popularity throughout the United States. This proposed initiative would have Wyoming divert current fossil fuel research dollars into renewable energy research. This would presumably better prepare Wyoming for competing in an energy market where carbon fuels are not present. So that is number 18.
Initiative 19 is the Advanced Thorium Reactor Initiative. This initiative, the University of Wyoming, reads as such. The University of Wyoming is achieving the development of top-tier engineering programs. This initiative would focus part of their research on the technical, regulatory, and business aspects of developing liquid thorium reactors. That is initiative number 19. With all these initiatives, again, it's important to remember where these come from. These are initiatives that are consensus-driven. They're ideas that were out there. We're asking you to weigh in, to vet each other's initiatives, and to talk and tell us what you think about those specific initiatives.
Great. And the last initiative to round out the day, number 20, under the theme of Education, Innovation, and New Technologies, is titled School of Energy Resources Board Diversity Initiative. So the University of Wyoming School of Energy Resources is the center for energy development research in Wyoming. However, the board is largely comprised of energy industry representatives. This initiative would rebalance the board to include more non-governmental organizations and members of other nonprofits.
Thank you, Colin. So that's the last initiative we're proposing today. A reminder, there are a lot of initiatives to be working on. We talked a lot about different initiatives today. Just because an initiative was mentioned, that doesn't mean that initiative moves forward. Initiatives that you listen to here today, they have to go through a vetting process, and that vetting process is part of it. It's asking you to weigh in on it, tell us what you think about it, and then it's part of a process of looking at what we think is actionable and feasible, and where we can actually put the rubber to the road with any of these initiatives. So we're asking you to continue to weigh in on our next steps.
Well, we'll have the public comment and ranking period will go through October 30th. So we'll have through the end of the month for you to visit the governor's website, go under the Energy Strategy tab, and read through the initiatives and rank them. As well, we'll be accepting and very glad to receive your written comments through energy.strategy@wyo.gov, where you can go through. You could go through, write an email as you're ranking the initiatives, and as you have thoughts and ideas about specific initiatives, just let us know. Theme 1, number 27. We thought that was a great idea, but we think you should retool it a little bit and direct your efforts in a different way. As you saw at the start of this theme 4, we had 4 or 5 different initiatives that hit on education and marketing and outreach of the energy industry and environmental stewardship. So is there one that you like best? Is there some combination of 2 or more that you'd like to see? So we really look forward to getting your comments during the ensuing month.
Thank you very much. So as a final thought, final comment, we've successfully outlasted 2 microphones in this session, and the majority of the people who are here in the room, we have successfully survived all these people. We certainly appreciate those of you who stayed, and for those of you who are online and need to train harder for next time so that you can sit through the entire meeting in one sitting, talk to the stalwarts who are here today. We really appreciate your input. We're going to appreciate your input. We're looking forward to it, and in order for this process to be effective, we sincerely request that you weigh in on these different proposed ideas, that you really provide feedback on them. Ultimately, that's what makes this successful, is the feedback that comes from you guys. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.